What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and this is, I know, first of all, I'm sorry for being late on my post-game analysis video for the Jets game. I promise that's coming. I am going to make sure I get that done today. I just had a busy day yesterday. Couldn't get it all together, so I'm going to get that out. This is not that, but there was some big news that the Dolphins put out that I had to make a video on and discuss, so we're going to do that right now. So that news is Tua Tagovailoa reportedly named Dolphins starting quarterback over Ryan Fitzpatrick. So it looks like now Tua is going to see the field. And of course, I told you at some point he would, so I was proven right in that. In fact, he actually came in the Jets game, as we know, which obviously I will be mentioning in my post-game analysis video. But yeah, so Tua Tagovailoa is going in, and he's starting. He's going to be starting. We have a bye week this week, so it won't be this week. It'll be the following week against the Rams, I believe it is. And I think that they are traveling to LA. They're coming out here, which means I might not be able to watch that game on Sunday Ticket because it's likely going to be an in-market game. Anyway, I'll figure that out when that time comes. Yeah, so he is going to be starting. Now, there are a few reasons for this, which I'll get to in a minute. I'm going to get through this article. But it looks like I was proven right in that, you know, at some point he was going to end up, you know, starting and coming in. Now, I was wrong because I'm a person who can admit when I'm wrong. And I care about facts above all else. As I've mentioned, and I'm consistent and not a hypocrite. So I was wrong in that I thought he was going to see the field either because Ryan Fitzpatrick played terribly or he got hurt. Now, obviously, this season is impossible to evaluate, and things didn't go or haven't gone as really anybody expected, right? The only time the Dolphins were expected to win something was against the Jets. And of course they were, because the Jets, you know, have a ton of issues coming into this season, injuries out the fucking ass, etc., right? Not a very good team right now, so on and so forth. So totally fucking expected. But again, more on that in the post-game analysis, because I don't think that they dominated the Jets in the way that they should have. Anyway, so, but, you know, look, the Dolphins were never expected to be a good team, and it looks like they might outperform the expectations for the season because of these other, you know, extraneous circumstances and these other factors that go into it that have, you know, helped determine. Now, we'll see, because that's going to depend pretty heavily on whether or not the Dolphins can stay healthy. Now, they do luck out in the sense that they get, you know, their bye week now, I guess, because they can get some guys healthy. I don't think Austin Jackson will even be back quite yet. You know, they're not going to have Devon Godshaw probably for the rest of the season unless they were to make it to the playoffs, which we'll talk about in a second, because that's one of the reasons that people are that Tua's going in, I believe. Anyway, so yeah, look, so it looks like the Dolphins are going to luck out a little bit unless they start to pile up injuries as well. I mean, if they, and I think personally, when you evaluate, and I think if you're doing an objective evaluation of the season and their performances thus far against the opponents that they've played, you see a common trend. The other team has had massive injuries. The Seattle Seahawks had tons of injuries, still lost that game. The Bills had several injuries, but the two most notable are Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano. With those guys out, we were able to attack the middle of the field. That was predominantly how our offense was able to even move. Obviously, still lost that game because they are the superior team. But we were able to move more than what we would have been able to with those guys out. 49ers, absolutely decimated. That's a major contributing factor in what led us to that win, right? So But even the Patriots, the one team that wasn't like injury riddled, still completely different. Obviously also lost that game, but still completely different. Their defense is 100% different than it was from last season. Or, okay, maybe not 100% because they still have some carryover guys. But with the guys that they lost in free agency into opt-outs, I mean, I can go through the list. Patrick Chung, fucking Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower, right? And I'm pretty sure I'm missing a couple guys. So, you know, just decimated, right? They don't have anybody by different stuff though, right? So completely different. And then obviously Tom Brady's not there. So, look, I think the Dolphins are overperforming their expectations, but not because they're actually as good as what everybody makes it seem, but mostly because of these other factors. Anyway, you guys know all that. Let's get through this article really fast. Days after he made his NFL debut, the Miami Dolphins are making 2020 first-round pick Tua Tagovailoa their starting quarterback, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Tagovailoa stepped onto the field for the first time in Sunday's 24-0 win over the New York Jets. He went 2 of 2 for 9 yards. Tagovailoa was clearly going to replace Ryan Fitzpatrick at some point. To see him elevated to the starting job after 6 games is a bit of a surprise, though. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported in September the Dolphins preferred to have the former Alabama star ride the pine in his rookie season. The COVID-19 pandemic limited how much he could prepare for his first year, and he had a lengthy recovery from a dislocated hip. Head coach Brian Flores made it clear on October 6th that he wouldn't lean on Tagovailoa unless the southpaw was physically ready, per ESPN's Cameron Wolf. He's checked all the boxes from a medical standpoint. He has, look, the honest thing for me is if it was my kid and he had a serious injury like that, I'm glad they put this quote in here because I do want to talk about this. I wouldn't want his coach to throw him in there because of media pressure or anything like that. That's kind of how I approach this situation in really all situations. The players, essentially, they are my kids. So no one is going to pressure me into doing anything. When we feel like he's ready to go, we'll put him in. Okay, now, obviously, he was very beat around the bush, said a bunch of different things, and covered a lot of bases there. And I told you, at the time when he said that, I love that. Now let's see what he does and what his actions are, right? Now, I disagree with this. I'm going to mention it a little bit more. I don't think they should have put Tua in at all. I just don't, because what are you going to see out of him? First of all, what are you going to see out of him? He got a handful of plays and, you know, half of them were runs. He threw 2 passes for 9 yards. Okay, great. He has 100% completion percentage. Fantastic. People were saying, oh, he looks so great handing the ball off. No, he looks like every other fucking quarterback that hands off the ball. Okay, hang on. Let me finish this before I get into the 3 prime reasons why I believe that they are making this decision. Oh, but real quick, let me finish on his comments. But I also said it depends. If he puts him in at all this year, it's going to contradict that statement. But the sooner he puts him in, the more it contradicts it, right? Every week that goes by that he doesn't, he gains more credibility. And if he goes the entire season and lets him redshirt, then 100% credibility to that statement, etc., etc. But it didn't take him very long. I mean, he made that October 6th. That was 14, right? That was, he said October 6th. That was 14 days ago. 2 weeks ago. So it was just 2 weeks ago. Only 2 weeks went by. Okay, anyway, Fitzpatrick's performance is another reason why this change was unexpected now. He has thrown for 1,535 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, and his 255.8 yards per game are the second highest of his career. At 3-3, the Dolphins are only 1 game back of the Buffalo Bills for first place in the AFC East, so they're doing about as well as anybody could have reasonably expected. Actually, I'm going to rephrase that because they are doing better than what anybody could have reasonably expected. But again, it's not because the Dolphins are that great. It's just because of other things. But if they start piling up injuries, which in the past couple weeks they have started to, although still not close, even close to the degree of a lot of these other teams that we've played, including the past 2, which are 2 of our wins. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely overperforming. They're not, yeah. Anyway, still, NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. I mean, dude, all the odds bettors before the season started had the Dolphins at like 5 wins. Like, really? Still, the NFL Network's Tom Pelissero spoke to a source who said it's just time in response to why Flores is pulling the trigger. I mean, I completely disagree. Miami's Week 7 bye will allow him more time to get ready to lead the offense before the team is back in action November 1st against the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, that's true. You know, you can't argue with that, but that's... I mean, I don't know why that matters, and whatever. Assuming he's still the starter, Tagovailoa is slated to face off with a pair of fellow rookies down the line. The Dolphins host Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers in Week 10 and welcome number 1 overall pick Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 13. So, okay, now that we've gotten through that, here are the 3 primary reasons why I believe they're making this decision and making it now. The timing is also... it's super curious, right? So there are a few reasons. One, obviously Tua was going to take over at some point, so him doing it, the physical action of him taking over at some point was inevitable. Whether it was sometime this year or next year or whatever. I told you it was going to be this year. I was wrong about the circumstances in which it happened, but that's because I couldn't foresee, you know, like the 49ers, for example, being decimated with injuries the way that they were, and then us subsequently being able to destroy them in a game, right? Obviously, I couldn't foresee that, so, you know, the evaluation has to change. But he is going in, as I said, it's going to be sometime this season, which is now proven to be true. That's not one of the reasons I was going to talk about. That's just an obvious thing that was eventually going to happen. Him physically taking over. They drafted him to do that. Obviously, it was going to happen. Now, the 3 reasons. Up to this point, Justin Herbert, which they mentioned, and Joe Burrow have been playing, and they've been getting tons of praise for their team. So there's been the ongoing conversation about, you know, well, look how well those other rookies are doing. So, but it's stupid to me because who cares? Who the fuck cares? Why does that mean you have to then rush your guy in so that way he can, you know, compete against them? Like, who fucking cares, dude? Who fucking cares? Like, because if he gets injured, well, that's going to throw a massive wrench into it. We'll get more into that in a second and why I disagree with this situation. Anyway, so that's one of the primary reasons. The comparison to the other rookie quarterbacks in this draft class, right? And how well that they're doing, right? They're doing so well, so you just got to get to it. I completely disagree with that, but that's part of it, right? Another part of it is simply because he's the shiny toy and he touched the field. That's it. That's a major, major part of it. Because now that the fan base and the media and Stephen Ross, I guarantee, have fucking said something. I guarantee it. There's no way to prove it unless some report comes out, you know, saying that fucking Ross spoke to Flores or whatever. I can't prove it, but I fucking guarantee it, man. Because he's feeling it. And that's why he fucking had them tank last year. That's why they got Tua, right? Because he's itching for that shiny new toy at quarterback. And he wants him in there as well. And he got the most glowing, overpraised fucking medical reports that he could possibly get. Okay? But it's not even practical. Because the team is now 3-3. They're 1 fucking game behind. So part of the argument is like, well, look, now we're 1 game behind fucking the Bills for the division and the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. Okay. But Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing fine. You don't need him to go in, right? And especially with the way all the rest of the teams are just getting decimated by injuries. Like, even the Titans now, right? They lost Taylor Lewan for the year because he tore his ACL. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, people, the teams are not going to be able to avoid it. So if the Dolphins can luck out and be one of the healthier teams at the end of the year, sure, maybe they could somehow miraculously win the division, right? Or whatever, and make it to the playoffs. I mean, crazy things fucking happen. And with the way that this season is shaping up, it's not out of the realm of possibility that somehow the Dolphins can manage, but that is going to require them to remain like one of the healthiest teams in the league. if that can happen. Now, again, it doesn't show that they are actually that good. It just shows that they lucked out, stayed healthy, and then beat up on beat up teams, right? Anyway, so that's the second reason is that he's just, this shiny new toy that everybody's got a taste of and is now just so clamoring for. What was the third reason? They're clamoring for him. Yeah, because of the other quarterbacks, and god damn it, I'm totally fucking blanking on what the third one was. But yeah, look, man, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't agree with it. I really don't, because I mean, like, there's just no reason to. There really is no reason to. Let Ryan Fitzpatrick stay in there. Let him keep doing his thing. I mean, the best thing, because look, and again, maybe the Dolphins will luck out. But, and real quick, let me just share this tweet, because fucking moron that he is. I responded to it, or quote tweeted him. Let's see, what was it? So, Matt Infante, here's what he tweeted out, and he says, I'm old enough to remember when people argued that Tua Tagovailoa should be redshirted this year and not even see the field. Of all the bad football takes in 2020, that might have been the worst. Even had people argue with me when I said in July that was never even considered. I mean, of course it was never considered. Of course they were going to have him take the field at some point, right? And most likely this year, because I told you, eventually something was going to happen. Now, I thought it was either going to be injury or bad performance by Fitzpatrick, but it was inevitably going to happen eventually anyway, because, as it turns out, if they start doing better than expected, then they're just going to want their fucking shiny new toy in there just because. Anyway, so this is what I quote tweeted. I said, one injury to the franchise quarterback and the most injury-riddled season in memory, as injuries mount on the team when there's no practical or logical reason to do so, will make this age terribly. Let's see if the Miami Dolphins can luck out and not get their guy hurt. So, look, man, I mean, if they stay healthy and he stays healthy and he performs well and somehow they manage to fucking win the division and go to the playoffs, whatever, and, make a run, obviously everybody's going to look at that and be like, ooh, wow, wonderful. Now, it will be, of course, that would be awesome if they make it to the playoffs, and especially if they can go, more than just one round into it. But, will they be able to do that next year? Or is there then going to be a dramatic drop-off because they're not actually as good as people think, and then next year they're actually going to play teams when they're at their full strength, etc., etc., right? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's just so much that needs to play out. But, and I still don't even think that, if they can somehow manage to fucking... I mean, look, there's so much crazy shit, and there are so many changing factors. Look, I mean, because if the Bills get, more injured, I mean, they lost their past two games, tough games against good teams, but they lost their past two games, and the Patriots are having problems. Their injuries are mounting, not to mention COVID positives, etc. So, and I mean, look, we're not even halfway through the season, so injuries are going to continue. COVID's going to continue to be a problem, probably even get worse. So look, man, I mean, they could luck their way pretty far, honestly. So who fucking knows? But look, I mean, I just don't think it's worth the risk. I really don't, because especially if injuries do start to mount on this team, and then, I mean, look, at this point, right, at least in the Jets game when he went in, he handed the ball off like 3 times and then threw it twice, right? So, and, I mean, he wasn't in a lot of danger of getting destroyed or hit or, knocked down in those 2 passes. One of them, he did have 2 defenders bearing in on him and, got pretty close. So that was a little scary for me. But, At this point, or in that situation though, I mean, it was like the last minute of the game or whatever. So, or a couple minutes. He was only going to get a few plays anyway. So, you know, you're not exposing him too much, but now he's going to be your starter, which means now you expect him to play the entire game. So I'm telling you, man, one wrong fucking hit, bro, and a massively injury-riddled season to a quarterback who is got an injury-prone history and who is smaller in size anyway, just starting out. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's, I just don't think it's smart, man, because I'm telling you, bro, one fucking bad hit and it's really going to make that age terribly. His tweet, right? And it's really going to fucking, I'm telling you, bro, like, for me, anytime he takes a hit, I'm going to be on the fucking edge of my seat waiting to see if he gets up and he's all right. And if he gets up slow at all, or if he gets any kind of major injury, bruh, I mean, like, I don't know what to say past that. And look, man, I warn people and I say these things and I tell people, you know, or I predict the things that I do or whatever and try and foreshadow things because I want to prevent them from happening. So I want to make sure that we do as much to prevent the terrible things from happening as possible, right? It's not because I like to be negative or whatever. The reason why I'm negative is because, one, either the facts and the reality of things are negative, and two, because I'm trying to foreshadow things for people that could potentially happen that are terrible that I want to avoid. And so I'm like, look, take these risks and these are the potential outcomes. So look, if he, you know, if they play a full season and he plays as the starting quarterback for the rest of the year, that's a lot of opportunity for him to get hit and for him to get hurt. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't think it's a good idea, but the decision has been made and Tua is now going to be the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. So like I said, I mean, they got a bye week this week. So we're gonna, you know, we're gonna be sitting here in anticipation and, you know, he's gonna be taking first team reps and so on and so forth. So yay, that's exciting, you know, but in a couple weeks, I'm sure it's going to go by quick. You know, that game against the Rams, they're a tough team as well. So we'll see, you know, we'll see how that plays out. Man, I don't know what else to say. So let me get out of here. I'm just, like I said, I'm going to be on pins and needles the whole time, just watching him pretty much and hoping that he just doesn't get fucking destroyed and hurt. So anyway, and the fact that he's barely even a year, I forgot to mention this, he's barely even a year removed from massive injury. I just wouldn't do it, but they're doing it. So it is what it is. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I am going to get working on the post-game analysis video for you for the Jets. Get that finished so I can get that out and be caught up and good to go. Because as more news does come out, I do want to be able to give that to you. And be, you know, totally caught up, have you guys up to date and so on and so forth. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspectives. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.